just, you know, makes you say, you know, when are you going to get a break?
Well, I mean, this is the only thing I've ever wanted to do in my life. This has been my #1 goal, and every year I get on doing it.
My father told me that if you're going to win one race in the life, win the Indy 500.
No tires, 2 tires, pull the rubber. I mean, we did everything that we could do to try to win that thing.
They dropped the reg, we checked out, and they said, Gordon's got 4. And I'm looking in the mirror, and here he comes.
You could tell they were wanting $1 million too, man. They were driving their hearts out. Both Bobby and Rusty said they'd like to throw me in the bushes right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm John Kernan. Coming up on RPM tonight, the professor will be here to look back at Sunday night's Coca-Cola 600 and also look ahead to Sunday's race at Dover. But first, Jim Guthrie remains in good condition at Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis and will remain there for the next few days. Surgery on his fractured right elbow was successful. During that crash, Guthrie also suffered a broken left fibula and cracked some ribs. While Guthrie looks ahead to rehabilitation, Eddie Cheever is still looking back at the 82nd running of the Indianapolis 500. Cheever drove the race of his life after almost getting spun out at the start. And in the end, he became the first driver-owner to win the 500 since A.J. Foyt did it in 1977.
Screaming for the yard of bricks, hand up, saluting the crowd. Eddie Cheever has won the 82nd running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
This is definitely a team effort. I keep saying all I do is drive it, but it's really the truth. It looks like I'm looking for confidence, but it's not the case. I am really happy for the crew. They've put long hours in. We crashed a car before we came here in Dover. They've had many long nights putting it back together again. I mean, you turn up as a driver and you sit in a brand new car, and only now do I realize the amount of work that goes into preparing a racing car. I did not want to see that last race start. I was very unhappy when the yellow came out. But I knew if I could get into 1 without being passed, I was going to be okay. And Buddy's a friend of mine. I mean, I knew that Buddy would be correct in how he did it, but I didn't want to play tiddlywinks with anybody. I wanted that race, and I wanted it badly.
Unfortunately, we just didn't have enough for him in the end. I was out of my adjustments in my car, weight jacker, sway bars, everything. But the guys did a great job getting me from where I was at the beginning of the race. You know, we went way down. We had to come in and stop. He did a great job getting me from there to contending for the win.
Eddie, you speak 5 languages. I want you to at least tell me in 3. 3 languages, Italian, French, and English. I want you to say I won the Indy 500 in all 3 of them.
Ho vinto Indianapolis 500.
And?
J'ai gagné le 500.
And?
In English, I won the 500. How's that?
All
That's
right.
Hoosier.
Goodyear Tires enjoyed a successful day at the Brickyard after a few lean years. Goodyear sat on the pole and claimed 8 of the top 10 finishing positions, including the winner. The company tested at the track in March and got the results it hoped for.
We were really close both years, and it just didn't come our way. But you know, the only way to deal with that is you just keep moving ahead, and you keep focusing on what we do best and what our job is, and when that is to advance the tire development and make progress, and that's what we focused on. And certainly when you put the kind of effort that we did into this particular race, it's really great to come out on top like we did.
After being shut out of victory lane at Indianapolis the past 2 seasons, Goodyear stormed back with a vengeance this year. I told you 8 of the top 10. How about the top 6 finishers in Sunday's race? All on Goodyear tires. Billy Boat paced the field with Goodyear tires. Well, Eddie Cheever was probably still celebrating when the Coca-Cola 600 got underway Sunday night at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And the fans who witnessed the 600 in person and on television and the radio had just as much reason to celebrate as Eddie, because this year's event at CMS turned out to be one of the best ever. Mark Martin made an early statement with the passes. He gets by both Dale Jarrett and Jeff Gordon to take the lead. Are you kidding me? Lap 339, Randy LaJoie gets loose, takes himself and Dale Earnhardt into the wall. Hard crash, but both drivers were okay. 46 to go, Gordon leading, but Rusty Wallace passes him on the outside and takes command. Caution came out, 22 to go. Wallace, Bobby Labonte, and Martin take only right side tires. Gordon takes 4 tires, and he comes out of the pits in 6th place. Once the green flag dropped, Gordon flew through the pack, and from Labonte's view with 10 to go, he will move under Wallace to take the lead as the 2 drivers come out of turn number 4. And Jeff never looked back, taking his 2nd straight Coca-Cola 600, 3rd in the last 5 races. And each time he's won, Rusty has finished second. Gordon and the rest of the top 5 finishers all put themselves in line for the Noble $5 million bonus. That's at the Brickyard in August. Now, let's hear what Jeff had to say about his victory.
It was a gamble, but we thought we'd maybe pick up a couple positions. I never dreamed we'd get all the way to the front. And then for it to be as exciting as it was once I did try to take the pass, man, I tell you what, it was a dogfight out there.
I learned a long time ago not even to count your dollars to the fat lady singing, you know.
If the last caution hadn't come out?
If the law, I'd have been spending it. If the last caution wouldn't have come out, a little bit of a betting guy, I think I'd have bet I could have won that thing.
We're close, you know, and trust me, those seconds and thirds, they'll add up. You know, we'll get us a win here. So, you know, we've got one already, but we'll get us another one if we keep running like we did tonight, at least the last half of it.
We just got the car too tight. They got it too loose at one point, and I couldn't go anywhere when I was loose, so I knew I had to be at least on the tight side. So we were getting 2 there at the end, but we tried to loosen it up some and just didn't go quite enough.
We had them covered there for a while, but we didn't keep up with the racetrack, I guess. You know, it seemed like those guys really picked up the pace when it got dark, and well, we finished 4th. It was a good run for us, good points for us. Maybe we'll win next week with that Valvoline car.
There were a season-high 33 lead changes among 12 different drivers. The previous most lead changes so far this year, 29. That was back in Atlanta in March, and Gordon's margin of victory, only 41 hundredths of a second over Rusty Wallace. We're joined now by the Professor Benny Parsons. Benny, normally the Winston is a lot more exciting than the 600, but I mean, I've been watching the 600 now for 18, 20 years. Last night, that had to be the most exciting I think I've ever seen. Why was it?
It was a great race, John, and there's a couple of reasons. Number one, all the cars finished. You didn't have any cars sitting in the garage area, blown engines, crashes, anything else. They're all on the racetrack trying to win. And the second thing, John, money. Money, money, money.
Now, wait a minute, Benny. Heading into the Winston, you said money wasn't the reason these guys raced. You said it was the trophy. So you're telling me that Sunday night they all of a sudden changed their tune? And there are dollar signs in their eyes?
I mean, John, we're talking about $1 million. We're not talking about money. We're talking about $1 million.
That's a lot of money to me.
That's a lot of money.
Now, were you surprised? I was. I just want to know, you as a former driver, were you surprised there were as many cars running at the end of that race as there were? I mean, 600 miles.
Totally shocked. And usually from 500 miles to 600, that last 100 miles usually gets 3 or 4 cars. Last night, it got no one. They were all there all night long. And was that exciting, folks, that last caution flag comes out, they go in the pits. What are they going to do? Are they going to change 2? And you know, when they go down pit road, they're going to make some kind of change. Is it going to be 2 or is it going to be 4? And the end result, the 4 tires did it.
Exactly right. And, you know, it's ironic, I think, because 4 years ago at the Coca-Cola 600, Gordon's crew gambled on a late pit stop, taking right-side tires only. That allowed Jeff to score his first Winston Cup victory. A different pit strategy Sunday night in the Coca-Cola 600 gave Gordon his 32nd career victory.
If you're in that top 5 at the end, you've got a shot. And we were 6, but we had 4 tires, so that makes up for that 1 position.
We gambled. We said, hey, look, we're 5th with be 15 laps to go. Let's try and win this thing, and it worked out.
You know, I asked him if Jeff put on 4 tires. I said that could be trouble, and he was a smart one there. He outboxed us tonight.
Same old hot rod I had out in California, I blew up with 8 laps to go. Same old car tonight, and I get past with 8 laps to go.
We opted for 2 tires, and we wouldn't change that for the world. We thought that was the right call to make. And, you know, if Jeff hadn't got 4, it would have been.
We took every stab at it we could. No tires, 2 tires, pull the rubber. I mean, we did everything that we could do to try to win that thing.
Sunday night in the final 70 laps, the 600 gave us many dramatic turns and 1 daring pass. The action on the track was some of the best racing seen this season, but the decisions made on pit road and the ensuing execution nearly stole the show. Rusty Wallace and Bobby Labonte were chasing $1 million dream, and it clearly looked like one of them was just about to catch it.
Bobby could stay right on my bumper, but he couldn't pass me because when you get right to a guy, you start losing the front end, starts making you push. And every time you get close to me, I make him push. And so then my strong point was in 1 and 2. I just get right on bottom 1 and 2 and pull away from Bobby there.
We were a 4th or 5th place car tonight. What got us at the end there, everybody else took 2 and we took 4, and with 4 tires on them, we could get them. But our car was probably about a 4th or 5th place car tonight.
Those guys did what they had to do. They had to take 2 tires. We didn't have anything to lose, so we took 4 tires, and it was a gamble, but we thought we'd maybe pick up a couple positions. I never dreamed we'd get all the way to the front. And then for it to be as exciting as it was once I did try to take the pass, man, I tell you what, it was a dogfight out there.
It worked out for the DuPont team and the race fans. They saw Gordon make a memorable pass for the lead in the final laps, robbing Wallace and Labonte of the win and the loot.
We hit the road with 2 tires on it. We pulled out. Everybody had 2 tires. They said, yeah, right move, you know. They dropped the reg, and we checked out, and they said, Gordon's got 4. And I'm looking in the mirror, and here he comes.
You could tell they were wanting $1 million too, man. They were driving their hearts out. And, you know, I was the spoiler, man. I was the one trying to keep it, you know, keep it from going in their pockets. And they both Bobby and Rusty said they'd like to throw me in the bushes right now. But, you know, hey, that's what it's all about. I mean, those guys, you know, they race hard. It was a great battle there at the end.
I call them everybody and say, you want to do 4 tires? If you want to do 4 tires, you want to do 2? If you want to do 2. Yeah. I said, I want to do 4. I said, I think it's 2. I said, I think that's right, too. So we both watch each other right off the damn bridge, but sorry, man. That's the way it goes.
Well, Benny, it's Monday, and of course, I can be a Monday morning crew chief if I want to, but Rusty 2, Gordon 4, he wins the race. Rusty finishes second. I was actually surprised that some of the other drivers didn't take on 4 tires. Why would they make that decision?
Well, John, they did not have that many laps since they'd changed 4 tires. What? 20, 25 laps since it all changed left sides, and they felt like the brand new right sides would make that car back just like 4 tires. Obviously, it didn't work like that. Jeff Gordon's car with the 4 brand new tires, much better than the competition.
What all goes into making that decision when the caution comes out? I mean, is it driver? Who all's involved?
Well, the driver and the crew chief. Those are the 2 guys involved, and you never know what to do, John. You never know exactly what to do, but you've spent 600 miles or 575 miles getting ready for that moment, and you have to know exactly what your car does with right sides, with left side, with 4 tires. You have to know these things, and that's what you base that decision on.
Now, I would have definitely gone 4, but then again, it's Monday morning.
Exactly.
Hey, Mark Martin clearly throughout that race had the strongest car, leading the most laps, but in the end, didn't have that advantage. I thought he was going to, you know, get that clean sweep at Charlotte. Was it tire strategy or something else? Because he also pulled the rubber out of the right front.
Well, I think Mark said last night, told Bill Weber and I that he and the crew might not have kept up with that car the way they needed to as the night progressed. And I'll tell you, that is a tough race, the 600 miles, starting at 6 o'clock in the afternoon and running until 11 o'clock at night. John, that's hard because you've got to keep loosening that car up as you go along, and you wonder, you don't want to get it too loose. Like Dale Jarrett told me, one time they got the car too loose, they had to tighten it back up, and then went too far. So it's a continual process of trying to adjust that chassis, and Mark and those guys right at the end did not have it quite loose enough.
What'd you think about Bobby Labonte? It looked to me like he was just hanging in there, just close enough that just waiting for the last few laps.
I really thought that Bobby Labonte would probably win the race. Even before the race, I would have to guess, if someone asked me, you've got to pick somebody, it would have been Bobby Labonte, because that car that he had was so dominant there last fall, and then again in Atlanta last fall and in March, same car. And at the end, I said, man, am I smart, because it looked like Bobby Labonte was going to win that thing until that last caution.
All right, Benny, stick around. We'll talk about Dover a little bit later on. Still to come on RPM tonight, a wild weekend in the world of racing. We look at it all in this week's Speed Shots. And when we come back, Team Menard's troubles in the greatest spectacle in racing.
RPM Tonight is being brought to you by Walmart. Always low prices, always Walmart.
Here's how the points stack up after Sunday's Indianapolis 500. Tony Stewart continues to lead the chase for the Pep Boys Indy Racing League Championship despite his last place finish on Sunday. Cheever moves to within 18 points of the lead with his victory. There's an old racing cliche: to finish first, you must finish. Perhaps that phrase applies to no racing team more than Team Menard at Indianapolis. Always a force on pole day, the team has yet to experience the taste of victory on race day. And Marlo Clain says Sunday was no different.
Here's Tony Stewart as he comes up on the leader, and Tony Stewart makes a great move. Had trouble on the front straightaway, and it's in fact Stewart. Stewart's engine let go.
The team that was the favorite to win this race was the first team out of the race. Team Menard thought they solved the engine problems that plagued them leading up to qualifying. But instead, Tony Stewart's power plant expired, making him the first casualty of the Indy 500.
Nah, I wasn't even running the car hard. I mean, if I was pushing it, I can understand it maybe, but just out there kind of riding around, trying to take it easy. This is the only thing I've ever wanted to do in my life. This has been my #1 goal, and every year I get on doing it. So, I mean, how would you feel?
we thought that this was actually over. We never thought that in race motors that we had a problem. But I mean, when you can't go out and run 50 laps, you got big trouble.
You got to be philosophical about this. Nobody said it was going to be easy, and probably if it was easy, everybody try it. But you know, we'll be in 2 weeks down in Texas. We'll be regrouped, reorganized, and ready to go again.
Robbie Buell pulled back to his pit area. It's an early day. The only thing he said on the radio is, "It's a shame we had a great race car."
It appeared at first Stewart's teammate Robbie Buell had the same engine problems, but after further inspection, a washer punctured the radiator.
Something went through the water radiator, and we picked up some debris, and it went through it and put a hole in it and ran all the water out of it and eventually locked it up. So it is not the same problem as we've been having.
It just, makes you say, when are you going to get a break? Especially for my guys on the Johns Mansville car, because that's the way the whole year's gone.
This was Tony Stewart's last Indy 500 as an IRL regular before he heads off to NASCAR full-time. But look for Stewart to return to this speedway, at least until he claims the one race that has eluded him. In Indianapolis, I'm Marlo Klain.
Thanks, Marlo. Since the inception of the Pep Boys Indy Racing League in '96, Team Menard has been quite successful in time trials, qualifying in the top 5 7 times. Race day, totally different story. 5 DNFs, 3 finishes of 20th or worse, including Stewart, who finished last on Sunday. When we come back, today in NASCAR history, DW smokes the competition in the very first Winston All-Star race.
Today in NASCAR history is brought to you by 76 NASCAR High Performance Motor Oil. Works for NASCAR, works for your car.
Controversy often swirls around the Winston. So why should the first Winston on May 25th, 1985 be any different? Darrell Waltrip's car was awesome, blowing by Harry Gant on the outside with ease. DW went on to take the checkered, but the controversy would stem from what happened next. Waltrip's engine blew up. The questions? Was that intentional? And was the engine legal?
Now, do you think I'd be riding down there with my hand out the window if I thought something was going to happen to that thing? No, I always like to say, it doesn't take an Inspector Clouseau to understand it. When you open the hood, the motor's still there. It just had a lot of oil blown all over it. But, no, it was a short fuse, baby, and it was meant to win that race, and that's it. And that's what it did, and we got the money and went on home.
Yeah, I remember that, sitting up on top of the press box watching that happen. I don't know. We're not going to open up that can of worms. Vinny, it's on to Dover this weekend, the Monster Mile. The 600, we were surprised that, not that many cars, were taken out. Probably going to be a different story at Dover, right?
Sometimes that monster at Dover can have quite an appetite for sheet metal and iron. But the racetrack, since they have put the concrete in, John, they made the racetrack a lot better. It is a 2-groove racetrack right now, and a track that I enjoy watching the race on.
Now at Bristol, it's also concrete, but the drivers sometimes say there's a lot of vibration, and it shakes the eyes so much that you sometimes have a hard time focusing. Is that the same at Dover?
No, I'm told that Dover is a much smoother surface than Bristol. And let's face it, Dover was second, or actually the third track to put concrete down. And as you do things more, as you're more repetitious, you learn things. And I think they went to the Martinsville, to Bristol, and they found out the problems they had, and they fixed them with the Dover track.
What's the most important handling aspect to doing well at Dover?
Well, you've got to be able to get off the corner, John. At any racetrack, Dover, Martinsville, any place, the race is won from the middle of the corner to the middle of the straightaway. Not, from the middle of the straightaway to the corner, doesn't really matter. You got to get off that corner.
Now, our first email comes from Randy in Virginia. How does NASCAR determine the driver's winnings?
Well, Randy, NASCAR sends out an entry blank, and in that entry blank, it specifies what you get for finishing in a particular position. In other words, 10th will pay $25,000. Now, also, they have accessory people, those decals on the front fenders. Some of those accessory people pay 10th spot, some pay the first spot. Whatever decals you have that coincides with your finish position, they add all those together, and that's your winnings.
Sean from Ohio writes, what do drivers mean when they say the engine is missing or it's skipping?
Well, Sean, all these cars run V8s, and when the engine is missing or skipping, it's not firing on all 8 cylinders the way it should. Now, all 8 cylinders might be firing, but a carburetor could have a problem, or plug shorten out every once in a while, but that means that the engine is missing. You asked about missing, but it's not run on 8 cylinders the way it should.
So the engine just didn't disappear. Yeah. That's what I always thought. I knew that. Hey, thanks, Benny. We'll talk to you again next week after the monster eats some cars, okay?
All right, John.
When we come back, all the bumps and bangs of the weekend. Speed Shots is next.
Speed Shots is brought to you by Quaker State. Sensible technology. What more do you need to know?
Check out Monday's Fast Facts. 6 of the 8 rookies at Indy finished in the top 12 Sunday. Strong rookie performance continues to trend dating back to '93. We'll be right back. Nobody covers the month of May like the ABC, ESPN family of networks. Tonight we wrap it all up at 8:30 Eastern right here on The Deuce with the Indy 500 recap show, followed by the Victory Celebration Banquet at 9:30. But those times could change because of tonight's NHL playoff action and a baseball game that's in extra innings right now. Check the bottom line, too, for updates. The World Sports Cars in action at Lime Rock. Tommy Kendall found a ride for this one. Out on the track, action heating up. Wayne Taylor in front of Andy Wallace, but Wallace makes the move to take over the lead. Taylor slows to go into the pits to make a driver change. Eric Vanderpool gets in the car, and that was the only break that Wallace would need in this one. He goes on to win it with team owner Rob Dyson looking on. Lou Gelati won the Trans Am race at Lime Rock after starting from the 7th spot, his first career victory. He took the lead after the top 3 cars were black flagged after a restart. Finally, Ricky Craven says he plans to drive the Busch Series race at Watkins Glen next month. Craven says if all goes well, he could return to the Winston Cup Series in the Pepsi 400 at Daytona. Tuesday, Jan Beekes checks in to analyze Alex Zanardi's big win Saturday at Gateway International. And Dr. Jerry Punch will be here. That's at 7 Eastern. Coming up next, NHL playoff action, Buffalo and Washington. Good night, everybody.